There is a hidden principle which shows how inner peace and outer success are connected, and how outer success doesn't make any sense if there is no inner peace. And in fact, it becomes difficult for us to achieve success in whatever we do if we don't operate from peace. And most people spend their entire lives at war with themselves without finding out this truth. On one side, you have the spiritual seeker. They read the scriptures, they meditate, they understand that attachment causes suffering, so they become detached. But somewhere along the way, this detachment becomes complacency. It becomes passiveness, where they are not involved anymore, where they are not active anymore, and this begins to show in their results as professionals and entrepreneurs. They convince themselves that striving is ego and all forms of efforts is somehow unspiritual and is a form of resistance, and they stay stuck with no growth, no real results. On the other side, there is a typical successful entrepreneur or a professional. They are working constantly, hustling, grinding. Every morning is about the results, the metrics, the validation, and it works for a while. They build something, they achieve something, but underneath everything, they are dependent on the external circumstances and validation for their fulfillment. A failed deal, a piece of criticism, something doesn't go their way, and anxiety creeps in. They look successful on the outside, but they are burning out internally. And you think you need to choose between the two. Either I need to choose inner peace by sacrificing success, or I need to hustle and be successful while sacrificing my inner peace. But this is the trap. There is a way to have both, and this is exactly what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. There is a third path, a middle path. It is where you work with full intensity, full discipline, full involvement, but internally you remain detached. You're completely free, you're completely at peace. This is what we call at Advaitha Conscious Society being a monk at heart and a warrior in action. And this is the solution that you've been looking for years. So let's decode this secret by the end of this video. And before that, let's understand why any kind of extreme fails. So here there are two extremes. There is one extreme which is what we call unconscious vairagya, and then there is another extreme that is abhyasa, that is activity, involvement and pursuit. And for simplification, let's understand vairagya as detachment, abhyasa as involvement and activity. Let's look at people all around the world who exist at the extremes. On one side, people who are unconsciously in a vairagya are typical spiritual seekers who understand vairagya, detachment at a certain level, but they've not gone deep into the wisdom yet, and they are somehow passive. They have lost interest in life and they are not involved in anything, right? There is no involvement with life. We see this happening to many people. And then let's come to another extreme, which is abhyasa or involvement or activity. This is where most successful professionals, entrepreneurs exist. The so-called successful people who are extremely active, who are extremely involved, who are successful externally. This is where money, power and everything lie. People hustle, people work hard, and that has its own place. When we work really, really hard, when we hustle, when we just through grinding pursue something, there is the physical law of karma at play, and because of our actions we can get certain results. And just because they are getting certain results, they believe that this is the only way and this is the highest way. And this is where they get stuck. This is where they begin to compromise other aspects of their life, their health, their relationships and their inner peace. They're always in stress, anxiety. There is no meaning in life for them apart from money. There is no purpose behind what they are doing, and so on. So all this is something that they lack. At Advaitha Conscious Society, what we focus on and what we specialize in is to help you walk the middle path. Not unconscious vairagya, not unconscious abhyasa, but what we call conscious creation. This is where we balance And if you have studied Bhagavad Gita thoroughly, this is exactly what Shri Krishna taught Arjuna. If we look at the story of Arjuna, he was a very skillful warrior. In fact, there is a story that goes like this. When Arjuna was young, when he was hanging out with his friends and his cousins, learning the craft from his guru in his Gurukula, one day at night when everybody was sleeping, the Guru Dronacharya wakes up because he heard a sound, and he goes to check it out, and he sees Arjuna practicing in the middle of the night when there was absolute darkness. And there the Guru confronts Arjuna and asks him, "What are you doing?" And Arjuna says, "This is what I've been always doing. In the morning, I practice with the fellow students, but at night when everybody goes to sleep, I continue practicing myself and I don't sleep." And this is why Krishna calls Arjuna Gudakeshi, which means the one who never sleeps. He was so involved with Abhyasa that he was not even sleeping sometimes, and still he was energized because that was his Swadharma, that was his purpose. And so when the war of Kurukshetra begins, he was already a very skilled warrior. Skill was not something that Arjuna was lacking, but what he lacked was Vairagya, detachment. He was confused, he lacked clarity. He didn't understand what he should do and what he should not do, whether he should wage the war or he should stop the war. And at that moment in time, Krishna talks about Karma Yoga, and he says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahetur bhor mate sangostva karmani. You, Arjuna, have the right to action alone, not to the results of your action. Don't get attached to the results of your action. Whatever is your dharma, do it. Your dharma as a warrior is to fight for dharma, is to fight for morality, is to fight for the righteousness. So that is the truth that we must understand. Not passive detachment from life, but absolute involvement while we are detached from the outcomes, not from the action. In fact, in the same verse, in 2.47, Gita says, stay away from akarma or inaction. So Krishna actually is telling us not to be here, not to be at unconscious vairagya where there is inaction, where we are not acting at all. Now, staying without action is not for everyone. There can be a very, very small percentage of yogis and rishis in the caves of Himalayas who can spiritually evolve and who can just focus on their evolution without any activity. But for the rest of us, for the professionals and entrepreneurs, this is the path. Conscious creation is the path, and it will lead to both inner peace and outer success. And what else do we need, right? And to understand this, let's understand the doctrine of Vedanta. Now, we believe that this is the world, the circle that you are seeing is the entire existence, the entire reality, all the universe and everything beyond. And we are one small aspect of it within the universe. And we are somehow perceiving this world, and the world is outside of us, and our wealth, health, relationships, our inner peace, our life experiences are outside, and there is some kind of interaction that is happening. And we are this limited ego, this limited identity. This is what most of us believe, and this is where we operate from. But Vedanta says we are not this. We are this entire circle and even beyond that. This is what the infinite consciousness is, within which the universe itself appears. It is this entire canvas. We are the fundamental energy for the universe. We are the source of creation. Now, when we act from attachment, we are operating from this space, from the space of ego. When we act from detachment, we are operating from this space, from the space of consciousness. Ego is always limited. Ego comes from conditioning, from scarcity, from its limited patterns. But consciousness is truly powerful. That has no boundary to it, that is limitless. So conscious creation is the most powerful method to manifest your ideal life. Manifestation, the way it's being taught, is just a very basic understanding of what reality is. When we actually let go of the attachment of what we want, that is when manifestation actually happens, because when we are attached to the outcomes, we are aware that we don't have it. And when we come from a place of scarcity, like we say at ACS, yad bhavam tad bhavati. Whatever is the feeling, that is what manifests. When we come from scarcity, we manifest scarcity. When we come from detachment, we don't care whether it happens or not. We are not in a place of scarcity, we are coming from a place of fullness and completeness, and that will only create more fullness and abundance in our lives. And so far, there are more than 1,000 members at Advaitha Conscious Society, and we have seen hundreds of success stories. And people who are able to achieve those outcomes in a matter of weeks or months are those who walk the middle path, who take it very seriously, and who begin to completely transform their identity. The current identity that you have, the current swabhava that you have, is not capable of living your ideal life. Otherwise, it would have already been living it. Who you need to be is someone else, is something else that we call the ideal identity. Now, of course, in the advanced journey of conscious creation, we help you figure out what this ideal identity is for you in your particular case. But in general, this is the identity of being a monk at heart and a warrior in action. This is a parameter that is common for everyone, and this is what you need to understand. You need to become this. You need to become a monk at heart and a warrior in action. And you need to take every step from today in order to be this, so that you can live your ideal life and you can have both inner peace and outer success. Because outer success alone is meaningless. We see how some of the successful and rich people suffer inside. They go through mental health issues, they go through anxiety, and so on.